I watched my mother hand Sarah the manila envelope containing my $50,000 in savings bonds, and I smiled. Let me be clear, I smiled because I knew exactly what was about to happen. Because I'd lived this moment before in another life, and that time I'd cried, I'd screamed, I'd begged them not to give my college fund, the bonds my grandmother had been buying for me since I was born, to my stepsister, but they'd done it anyway. And I'd ended up working 3 jobs to put myself through community college while Sarah partied at NYU on my inheritance. That was before the car accident killed me at 28. Before I woke up in my 16-year-old body on the morning of my grandmother's funeral with all my memories intact. This time, I wasn't crying. This time, I had a plan. "Are you sure about this, sweetie?" my mother asked, though she was already handing the envelope to Sarah. "These are your college bonds." "I'm sure, Mom," I said, keeping my voice soft and selfless. "Sarah needs them more than I do. She's been accepted to NYU. That's such a better school than anywhere I could get into." Sarah's eyes gleamed with triumph as she clutched the envelope to her chest. She was my father's daughter from his first marriage, 3 years older than me, and she'd hated me from the moment Dad married Mom when I was 5. In my first life, I'd spent years trying to win her over, trying to be the sister she'd never wanted. "You're such a good sister," Dad said, putting his arm around Sarah. He'd never put his arm around me like that. Not once in either lifetime. "Well, someone in this family needs to be practical," Mom added, her voice dripping with the subtle disdain she'd perfected over the years. "Your grades are fine, but Sarah is exceptional. It makes sense to invest in excellence." My grades were actually better than Sarah's, a 4.2 GPA versus her 3.8, but that had never mattered to them. In my first life, I'd screamed this fact during our fight about the bonds. I'd pulled out my report cards, my SAT scores, my acceptance letters. They'd looked at the evidence and still chosen Sarah. Because Sarah was beautiful. Sarah was charismatic. Sarah was Dad's precious firstborn, and Mom had spent 17 years trying to win my father's complete devotion by championing his daughter over her own. "The funeral was lovely," Sarah said, examining her manicured nails, though I thought Grandma Rose's pastor talked too long. I felt the familiar stab of grief, but I pushed it down. Grandma Rose had been the only person in my family who'd truly loved me. She'd bought those bonds, won every birthday and Christmas, specifically for my education. She'd made Mom and Dad promise they'd be used for me and only me. But Grandma had died yesterday, 3 months earlier than in my original timeline, her heart attack sudden and unexpected. The bonds were technically in my name, but I was still a minor. My parents had control, and they'd been pressuring me since we'd returned from the cemetery to share with Sarah. In my first life, I'd refused until they'd worn me down with guilt and manipulation. This time, I'd given in immediately, and I could see the confusion in my mother's eyes. She'd been prepared for a fight. "Well, I should get going," Sarah said, standing up from the kitchen table. "I'm meeting Brad at the mall. Thanks for the college fund, sis." She emphasized the last word mockingly, the way she always did, turning the familial term into an insult. After she left, Mom turned to me with narrowed eyes. "That was very mature of you, Emma. I'm proud." The words should have warmed me. They would have meant everything to the old Emma, the one who'd died never hearing them. But I knew what she really meant. "I'm pleased you've finally learned your place." "I just want Sarah to be happy," I said. "Good," Dad said, not looking up from his phone. "Because we need to talk about your college plans. Community college has some excellent programs. Actually," I said carefully, "I've been thinking about taking a gap year, work, save money, figure out what I really want to do." This was a deviation from my first life, where I'd fought tooth and nail to go to college immediately. I'd exhausted myself working and studying, graduated with honors, gotten a decent job in marketing, and none of it had mattered when Sarah's jealousy had finally destroyed me. In my first life, at 28, I'd finally achieved success. I'd gotten engaged to a wonderful man, bought my first house, earned a promotion to senior director, and Sarah, who'd dropped out of NYU after 2 years of partying, whose life was a string of failed relationships and abandoned careers, couldn't stand it. She'd seduced my fiancé. When that hadn't broken me, I'd simply left him. She'd escalated. She'd hacked my work email, sent inappropriate messages to clients from my account, gotten me fired. She'd spread rumors about me to my friends, isolating me. She'd stolen my identity and taken out credit cards in my name, tanking my credit score. And when I'd finally confronted her, when I'd finally gone to my parents with evidence of everything she'd done, they hadn't believed me. They'd called me jealous, vindictive, cruel for attacking my own sister. I'd been driving home from that confrontation, crying so hard I could barely see, when the truck ran the red light. A gap year? Mom frowned. I suppose that makes sense. You're probably not ready for college anyway. The casual cruelty still stung, even when I was expecting it. I excused myself and went up to my room, the smallest bedroom in our 4-bedroom house, while Sarah had the master suite with the attached bathroom. I pulled out my laptop and opened my email. The message was there, just as I'd remembered it would be. The email I'd deleted unopened in my first life, thinking it was spam. Dear Ms. Emma Chen, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected for the Westbrook National Merit Scholarship Program. Based on your PSAT scores, academic record, and the supplementary materials we requested from your school, you have been awarded a full scholarship to attend one of our partner universities. The list of partner universities included Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, and 15 other top-tier schools. In my first life, I'd never known this email existed. I'd taken the PSAT in October, and my counselor, Mrs. Richardson, had been supposed to tell me my scores and help me with the national merit process. But Mrs. Richardson had been Sarah's cheerleading coach first, and she'd liked Sarah much better than me. She'd forgotten to mention my scores, forgotten to tell me I was eligible, forgotten to help me with the supplementary materials. Except she hadn't forgotten. Sarah had asked her not to tell me, and Mrs. Richardson, charmed by beautiful, popular Sarah, had complied. I'd discovered this a year before my death in my first life, when I'd requested my high school records for a background check. I'd seen the PSAT scores, 99th percentile, and the notes about national merit eligibility. I'd called Mrs. Richardson, who'd retired by then, and she'd admitted everything after I pressed her, her voice filled with an old woman's regret. Sarah said you wouldn't appreciate it, Ms. Richardson had told me. She said you weren't college material, that you'd waste the opportunity. She said your family agreed it was better not to put pressure on you. I'm sorry, Emma, I should have verified, but Sarah was so convincing and she said she was looking out for you. This time, I'd been watching for the email. I'd hacked Sarah's laptop 2 weeks ago. Easy enough since she used the same password for everything, and installed a keylogger. I'd watched her email Mrs. Richardson, asking her to lose my PSAT information as a favor. But I'd gotten to Mrs. Richardson first. I'd gone to her office during Sarah's cheerleading practice, tears in my eyes, genuine ones pulled from the well of grief for my grandmother, and told her how much Grandma Rose had wanted me to go to college, how much it would mean to honor her memory, how scared I was that my family would make me give up my dreams for Sarah. Mrs. Richardson, who'd always felt vaguely guilty around me, even in my first life, had been moved. She'd expedited my national merit paperwork personally. She'd written my recommendation letter herself, pouring on the praise. When Sarah's email had arrived 2 days later, Miss Richardson had deleted it and never mentioned it to Sarah. Now I had my scholarship offer. Full tuition, room and board, and a stipend at any partner university. I'd chosen Harvard, not because it was the best school, they all were, but because it was the school Sarah had always dreamed of attending. She'd applied early decision in my first life and been rejected. She'd never quite recovered from that rejection, and it had fueled much of her jealousy of me. I crafted my acceptance email carefully, choosing Harvard, providing all the necessary information. Then I saved the entire email chain in 3 separate cloud storage accounts with different passwords. Evidence. Everything needed to be evidence this time. I spent the next 2 weeks being the perfect daughter and sister. I got a job at the local coffee shop, telling my parents I wanted to save money for my gap year. I helped around the house. I smiled when Sarah came home from NYU orientation, talking about her amazing dorm and new friends. And I waited. The Harvard acceptance packet arrived in late July, a thick envelope delivered by actual courier. I'd arranged to be home alone when it came, having studied the delivery patterns from my first life. The packet was beautiful. Heavy cream paper, embossed lettering, a formal certificate of admission. But I didn't need the physical copy. I opened my laptop and began the next phase. I'd spent my first life working in marketing and social media management. I'd learned how to craft viral content, how to tell stories that captured attention, how to build an audience. I created a new TikTok account, at Second Chance Emma. My first video was simple, me sitting in my small bedroom holding the Harvard acceptance packet. Story time about how my family gave away my college fund to my stepsister, not knowing I'd already gotten a full ride to Harvard. I didn't elaborate. I just posted it with strategic hashtags. Hashtag family drama, college acceptance, step sibling, hashtag justice story. Then I went to my coffee shop shift and waited. By the time I got home 4 hours later, the video had 200,000 views. By midnight, it had 2 million. The comments were exactly what I'd expected. We need the full story. Don't leave us hanging. Part 2. Please, I'm begging. This is going to be good. I posted part 2 the next morning. 10 minutes of me explaining Grandma Rose's savings bonds, my parents' favoritism, Sarah's cruelty. I showed my grades versus hers, redacting our last names. I showed the envelope being handed over, which I'd secretly recorded on my phone. Then I showed the Harvard acceptance. The thing is, add to the camera, my voice steady, they don't know yet. They think I'm taking a gap year to work at a coffee shop because I'm not smart enough for college. They don't know I'm leaving for Cambridge in 3 weeks. That video got 5 million views in 6 hours. Part 3 came that evening. Why I'm not telling them yet. Because Sarah used my college fund to pay her NYU deposit and first semester. That's $35,000 gone. In 3 weeks when I leave for Harvard, she won't be able to get that money back. She'll be locked into NYU, the school she can't afford without my grandmother's money. And my parents will finally understand what they chose. The comments were split. Half thought I was a genius, half thought I should tell my parents immediately that I was being cruel. But I wasn't being cruel, I was being strategic. In my first life, I'd learned that my parents would never choose me over Sarah unless forced. They'd proven that at every opportunity. So this time, I wasn't giving them a choice. I was presenting them with a fait accompli. Over the next 2 weeks, my account exploded. I posted updates every day, building the narrative. Sarah buying designer clothes for NYU with leftover bond money. My parents praising Sarah's upcoming college experience at dinner while I served them food. Me secretly packing for Harvard in the middle of the night. The care packages I was preparing to send to myself at school, because no one else would. Each video got millions of views. News outlets started picking up the story, anonymized, but clearly about me. Teen's viral story about family favoritism sparks national conversation about step-sibling dynamics. My follower count hit 5 million, and Sarah had no idea. She didn't use TikTok much. Instagram was her platform, and I'd been careful to never use our last name or show our faces clearly. To her, I was still pathetic Emma, working at a coffee shop, going nowhere. The day before I left for Harvard, I posted my final pre-departure video. Tomorrow morning, I'm telling them, follow for the update. That video got 10 million views in 3 hours. I barely slept that night. Not from nervousness, I'd lived through worse, but from anticipation. All the pain of my first life, all the years of being overlooked and undermined were about to be answered. I went downstairs at 7 a.m. with my bags packed and hidden in my closet. My parents were having coffee in the kitchen. Sarah was still asleep. She'd never been a morning person. Mom, Dad, I said, "Done. I need to tell you something." Mom looked up from her phone, like annoyed at the interruption. "What is it, Emma? I'm very busy." "I'm leaving for college today." A pause. Dad's eyebrows rose. "I thought you were taking a gap year." I lied. I set my phone on the counter, recording. I was accepted to Harvard on a full scholarship back in May. Full tuition, room, board, and a stipend. I leave for orientation this afternoon. The silence was profound. Harvard? Mom's voice was faint. You got into Harvard? With a full scholarship, I repeated, based on my PSAT scores and academic record. The scholarship program contacted me in May. I've been planning this all summer. But Dad seemed genuinely confused, as if the idea of me achieving something was incomprehensible. Why didn't you tell us? Because you gave my college fund to Sarah? Because you've spent my entire life telling me I'm not as good as her? Because I wanted you to understand what you've been doing to me. Mom's face flushed. That's not fair, Emma. We've always treated you girls equally. No, I said quietly. You haven't. And now the whole world knows. I turned my phone around to show them my TikTok account, 20 million Mazdatat followers. My latest video posted at midnight, a compilation of every moment I'd documented, had 50 million views. What? Mom grabbed the phone, her hands shaking. What is this? My story, the truth. I've been documenting everything since Grandma's funeral, everything you've said to me, everything you've done. How you gave away my inheritance, how you favor Sarah, how you've treated me like I'm worthless my entire life. Dad's face had gone pale. Emma, you can't. This is private family business. Nothing I posted was illegal. I didn't use our last names. I blurred our faces in photos. But people figured out who we are anyway. Check your Facebook, Dad. Check your work email. He pulled out his phone. I watched his face drain of color as he scrolled through hundreds of messages. Is it true you gave your daughter's college fund to your other daughter? You should be ashamed of yourselves. Emma deserves better than you. The messages were flooding in on every platform. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, even his work email. My story had resonated with millions of people who'd experienced similar favoritism, similar cruelty from their own families. You've destroyed our reputation, Mom whispered. How could you? How could you? I countered. I'm your daughter, your actual biological daughter. And you've spent 17 years making me feel worthless so you could win Dad's approval by championing Sarah. Did you think I didn't notice? Did you think it didn't hurt? We gave Sarah your bonds because she needed them, Dad said. But his voice was weak. She's going to NYU. That's expensive. I got into Harvard. That's better than NYU. And I did it without any support from you. I did it while working at a coffee shop, while taking care of this house, while being told I wasn't good enough. I picked up my phone. I'm leaving now. My bags are already in my Uber. You can't leave, Mom said desperately. We need to talk about this. We need to fix this. There's nothing to fix. You made your choice. You gave away my inheritance, money my grandmother specifically saved for me, to Sarah. You've made it clear who matters in this family, so I'm going where I do matter. Harvard wants me. They're paying me to attend. They think I'm worth investing in. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her hair messy from sleep. What's all the yelling about? I turned to her and I let her see the triumph in my eyes. I'm going to Harvard on a full scholarship, the college fund you took from me. You'll need every penny of it for NYU because Mom and Dad can't afford to help you beyond that. And when you inevitably fail out, because we both know you only got into NYU because of Dad's donation, you'll have nothing. No degree, no money, and no more little sister to steal from. Her face went white, then red. You're lying. I showed her my acceptance packet, my phone with the viral videos. 50 million people have watched me explain how you've treated me. Your Instagram is already flooded with comments. Your NYU classmates are going to know who you are before you even get to campus. Good luck making friends. You bitch, she hissed. You vindictive little bitch. No, I said calmly. I'm the granddaughter Rose Chen believed in. I'm the student Harvard wanted. I'm the person who survived everything you did to me and still made something of myself. You're just the stepsister who peaked in high school. My phone buzzed. My Uber was outside. Goodbye, I said. Don't call me. Don't email me. Don't try to visit. I'm done with all of you. I walked out of the house with my head high, leaving behind the sounds of Sarah screaming and my mother crying. The Uber driver, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, took one look at my face and smiled. You're her, aren't you? The Harvard girl from TikTok? Yeah, I said, that's me. Good for you, honey. Good for you. The drive to the airport was surreal. My phone was exploding with notifications. Comments, shares, news requests, messages of support from strangers, but also messages from people I'd known, former classmates, teachers, even Mrs. Richardson. Mrs. Richardson's message made me pause. Emma, I'm so proud of you. I'm so sorry for everything. I've been watching your videos. I should have protected you better. You deserved better. Congratulations on Harvard. Your grandmother would be so proud. I didn't reply. Maybe someday I would, but not today. At the airport, I posted one final video before boarding. This is Emma, signing off for now. To everyone who supported me, who shared their own stories, who reminded me I wasn't alone, thank you. To my family, if you're watching, I hope you understand now. I hope you realize what you lost. I'm going to Harvard. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to do it all without you. And to everyone out there who's being overlooked, underestimated, or told they're not good enough, prove them wrong. Live well. That's the best revenge. The video got 100 million views in 24 hours. Harvard was everything I'd remembered and more. Because I wasn't just reliving my past, I was living a better version of it, a version where I arrived with confidence, with resources, with the knowledge that I deserved to be there. My roommate, Jessica, was a brilliant physics major from Oregon. She'd seen my videos. You're kind of famous, she said when we first met, grinning. My mom showed me your TikTok. She said you reminded her of herself. She had a similar situation with her stepbrother. Are you doing okay? I am, I said honestly. For the first time in a long time, I really am. Classes started and I threw myself into my studies. But I also joined clubs, made friends, went to parties. All the things I'd been too exhausted to do in my first life, when I'd been working 3 jobs to afford community college. The money from my TikTok account, revenue and sponsorships was substantial. I'd made $200,000 in the past month alone. I put most of it in savings, but I also bought things I'd never been able to afford. A new laptop, nice clothes, textbooks without having to choose which ones to skip. And I sent a substantial donation to Harvard's financial aid office, specifically for students from difficult family situations, in honor of Rose Chen, my grandmother. The world moved on, as it always does. My videos stayed up as a cautionary tale, but new drama captured the internet's attention. I posted occasionally updates about Harvard life, study tips, encouragement for others in tough family situations. But I was no longer the main character of the internet's narrative. I was just Emma Chen, Harvard student, living my life. But my family's story wasn't over. 3 weeks into my semester, I got an email from Dad. Emma, please call me. We need to talk. Sarah has dropped out of NYU. She says the harassment from your videos made it impossible for her to stay. Your mother is devastated. We're trying to get the bond money back, but it's complicated. We need your help. I deleted the email. 2 days later, Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Emma, please. I know you're angry, but this has gone too far. Sarah is struggling. She's depressed. She won't leave her room. Your father and I are getting messages from our employers about your videos. We might lose our jobs. Please, just talk to us. We're your family. I saved the voicemail as evidence, then blocked her number. The thing they didn't understand, the thing they might never understand, was that I'd given them chance after chance in my first life. I'd begged for their love, their approval, their basic respect, and they'd chosen Sarah every single time. This wasn't me being cruel. This was me choosing myself. Through Jessica, I heard rumors about what was happening at home. Apparently, my TikTok fame had attracted the attention of journalists who'd done some digging. They'd uncovered that Dad had embezzled money from his company to pay for Sarah's NYU application consulting, $10,000, to a shady service that essentially wrote her essays and fabricated her extracurriculars. The story broke in October. Dad was fired and under investigation. The embezzlement was small enough that he might avoid prison, but his career was over. Mom had been let go from her administrative position after parents at the school where she worked complained about her treatment of me. Apparently, several other mothers remembered how she'd talked about me at school events, always dismissively, always unfavorably compared to Sarah. And Sarah? Sarah was back home, her dreams of NYU dead, with no college fund, no prospects, and a viral infamy that followed her everywhere. I felt not quite satisfaction, but a sense of cosmic justice. They'd tried to take everything from me, and in doing so, they'd lost everything themselves. In November, I got a letter, actual physical mail, forwarded from my old address to my Harvard dorm. It was from Sarah. Emma, I know you won't read this, but I have to try. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. You were right about me. I was jealous of you. I always was. You were smarter than me, kinder than me, better than me in every way that mattered. And instead of trying to be better, I tried to drag you down. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that I understand now. I understand what I took from you. Not just the bonds, but years of your life. Years you spent feeling worthless because of me. I'm working now at a gas station, trying to save money for community college, trying to figure out who I am when I'm not competing with you, not being propped up by mom and dad. It's hard. Everything is hard. But you're at Harvard. You made it. And I'm proud of you, even though I have no right to be. I'm sorry, Sarah. I read the letter 3 times. I looked for the manipulation, the angle, the trap. But it seemed genuine. The handwriting shaky, the paper tear-stained. I didn't reply. Maybe someday I would. Maybe in 5 years or 10, when I'd built a life so full and beautiful that her cruelty was just a distant memory, I'd reach out. I'd offer her a chance at reconciliation. But not now. Now, I needed to focus on myself. Finals came and went. I aced everything, my mind sharp from years of experience and preparation. I joined a research lab in the psychology department studying family dynamics and birth order, a topic I knew intimately. I started dating someone, a sweet engineering student named David who thought I was brilliant and told me so constantly. It was strange being with someone who believed in me without reservation. But I was learning to accept it. I went home with Jessica for winter break, to Oregon, where her family welcomed me with open arms. Her mother hugged me when we arrived and whispered, "You're always welcome here." I cried in the guest bedroom that night. Good tears, healing tears. On Christmas Day, I posted a TikTok, just a short one. Update. I'm finishing my first semester at Harvard with a 4.0. I've made incredible friends. I'm working on research that matters to me. I'm happy. To everyone who supported me, thank you. To my family, I hope you've learned something. And to everyone still fighting their own battles, it gets better, I promise. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. Thousands of people sharing their own stories of overcoming family toxicity, of choosing themselves, of building new families from friends. But one comment caught my eye, from an account I didn't recognize. "I'm proud of you, Emma. Grandma Rose would be so proud." Mrs. Richardson. I liked the comment. Spring semester brought new challenges and opportunities. I was invited to speak at a conference about family dynamics and resilience. I was offered a book deal to expand my story. Was recruited by 3 different companies for summer internships. I chose to work at a nonprofit supporting teenagers from difficult family situations. The pay was less than the corporate internships, but the work mattered. In March, Dad sent one final email. I almost deleted it unread, but something made me open it. "Emma, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to come home or to reconcile or to pretend everything is fine. I'm just asking you to know this. I was wrong. Your mother was wrong. We failed you in every way parents can fail a child. We prioritized the wrong things. We played favorites. We allowed jealousy and insecurity to guide our decisions instead of love. You deserved better. You deserved parents who celebrated your intelligence, your kindness, your strength. You deserved a sister who lifted you up instead of tearing you down. You deserved a grandmother's legacy that was honored, not stolen. I can't change the past. I can't undo the damage. All I can do is acknowledge it and tell you that you were right to leave. You were right to choose yourself. You were right to shine a light on what we did. I hope Harvard is everything you dreamed it would be. I hope your life is full of people who appreciate you the way you deserve to be appreciated. I hope you're happy. And I hope someday, maybe years from now, you'll be able to think of us without pain. Dad, I sat with that email for a long time. In my first life, I died never receiving an apology. I died believing my family would never understand what they'd done to me. This time, they understood. Too late to fix things, too late to undo the damage, but they understood. I didn't reply to the email, but I didn't delete it either. April brought acceptance letters for summer programs at MIT and Stanford. I chose MIT, a neuroscience research program studying the psychological impacts of family favoritism. My personal experience made me an ideal candidate. May brought the end of my freshman year. I'd made it. I'd survived and thrived. On the last day of classes, I posted a final TikTok update. It's been almost a year since I left home. Almost a year since I chose myself over the family that never chose me. Here's what I've learned. 1. You don't owe loyalty to people who hurt you, even if they're family. Blood doesn't excuse cruelty. 2. Success really is the best revenge, but only if you're successful for yourself, not to spite others. 3. There are people out there who will love you the way you deserve to be loved. You just have to be brave enough to find them. 4. Your past doesn't define your future. I was told I wasn't good enough my entire childhood. I believed it for years. But it was never true. And whatever you've been told about yourself, if it's making you smaller, if it's dimming your light, it's not true either. I'm finishing my freshman year at Harvard with a 4.0, multiple research opportunities, and genuine friendships. I'm happy. I'm healing. I'm building a life that honors my grandmother's memory and my own potential. And to my family, if you're watching, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I forgive you, and I'm moving on. I hope you're all finding your own paths to healing. This is Emma Chen signing off. Thank you all for being part of this journey. The video got 50 million views in 2 days. But the comments that meant the most weren't from strangers. They were from my Harvard friends, from Jessica and David, from my research mentor, from Mrs. Richardson. Proud of you, Rumi. Here's to sophomore year. You're incredible. Love you. Your resilience continues to inspire me, Emma. See you at the lab in the fall. Rose is smiling down on you. I know it. I closed my laptop and looked around my dorm room. Tomorrow, I'd pack everything up. I'd spend the summer at MIT, diving into research I was passionate about. In the fall, I'd return to Harvard for sophomore year. And someday, maybe in 5 years, maybe 10, I'd be ready to face my family again. Not because I needed them, but because I'd be secure enough in myself to offer grace. But that was future Emma's decision. Present Emma had done enough. She'd survived. She'd escaped. She'd thrived. She'd won. I picked up my phone one last time and opened the Photos app. There was one picture I'd saved from my old house taken on my last morning there. It was the only photo I had of Grandma Rose's savings bonds before they'd been given to Sarah. On the back of the envelope, in my grandmother's handwriting, was a note I'd never seen in my first life. For Emma's future, may she fly as high as her dreams. I was flying, Grandma. Despite everything, I was flying. The summer at MIT was transformative. I worked alongside graduate students and professors, studying the long-term psychological impacts of parental favoritism. I published my first paper as a co-author. I gave a presentation at a national psychology conference. And I met others like me, researchers and students who'd overcome difficult families, who'd chosen themselves, who'd turned their pain into purpose. On the last day of the program, my research advisor, Dr. Sarah Kim, pulled me aside. Emma, you have a gift for this work. Not just because you're intelligent, though you are, but because you understand the human element. You've lived it. Have you thought about graduate school? I'm only 19, I said, laughing. I know, but when you're ready, when you've finished undergrad, I want you to consider our PhD program. We need researchers who can bridge the gap between clinical work and lived experience. I promised I'd think about it. But more importantly, I realized something. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building a career, building expertise, building a future where my experiences could help others. The betrayal, the pain, the years of being overlooked, they weren't just scars anymore. They were the foundation of my purpose. I returned to Harvard in the fall, grounded and focused. Sophomore year brought new challenges: organic chemistry, statistical analysis, advanced research methods. But it also brought new joys: a leadership position in the psychology club, a volunteer position at a youth crisis center, deeper friendships. David and I grew closer. He met Jessica's family over Thanksgiving. We both went to Oregon again and fit in seamlessly. On the drive back to campus, he held my hand and said, "You know what's amazing? Watching you thrive. You're like this butterfly that emerged from the worst cocoon imaginable, and now you're just flying." I squeezed his hand. "Grandma Rose would have liked you." "I wish I could have met her." "Me too." December brought an unexpected email from Sarah. "Emma, I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. I got my GED. I'm enrolled at community college for spring semester. Psychology major. Because of you, because of what you went through, I want to understand why I did what I did. I want to be better. I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself. I'm not the person I was. I hope you're well. I hope you're happy. You deserve it." Sarah. I stared at the email for a long time. Then I wrote back. Just one line. "Good luck with your studies." It wasn't reconciliation, but it was acknowledgement. A crack in the door, not an invitation through it. Baby steps. Junior year was even better. I declared a double major in psychology and neuroscience. I started my own research project studying resilience in young adults from toxic families. I was awarded a prestigious undergraduate research grant. And in March of that year, I received an email that made me cry happy tears. "Dear Ms. Chen, on behalf of the Harvard Department of Psychology, I'm pleased to inform you that you have been awarded the Rose Chen Memorial Scholarship, established this year by an anonymous donor in honor of your grandmother. This full scholarship will cover any remaining expenses not covered by your existing funding and will continue through your graduate education should you choose to pursue it." The donor specified that this scholarship is to support students who have overcome significant family adversity to achieve academic excellence. You are the inaugural recipient. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition. I called Mrs. Richardson. She answered on the second ring. "Did you do this?" I asked, my voice thick with emotion. "Me? No, dear. I'm a retired teacher. I couldn't afford—" She paused. "Wait, are you talking about the scholarship?" Someone established a scholarship in my grandmother's name. At Harvard. A full ride plus living expenses for undergraduate and graduate work. Silence. Then, "Emma, I think you should check your other emails." I did. There was one from an attorney's office I didn't recognize. "Ms. Chen, we are writing on behalf of your Ma's father, Mr. Robert Chen. He has asked us to inform you that he and your mother have sold their house and used the proceeds to establish the Rose Chen Memorial Scholarship in your grandmother's name. They will be downsizing significantly and using their remaining resources to ensure the scholarship continues in perpetuity. Your father wanted you to know that while he cannot undo the past, he hopes this honors your grandmother's memory and her belief in you. He asks nothing in return and does not expect contact from you. He simply wanted you to know that your grandmother's legacy is secure." I sat on my dorm room floor and sobbed. They'd sold the house, the 4-bedroom house with Sarah's master suite, the house I'd grown up in, always feeling like I didn't belong. They'd sold it and given the money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to honor Grandma Rose and support other students like me. It didn't erase what they'd done. It didn't make us a family again. But it was something. It was acknowledgement. It was penance. It was proof that people could change, even if that change came too late to save the relationship. I didn't contact them, but I didn't block them either. Senior year flew by in a blur of accomplishments. I was accepted to Harvard's PhD program in clinical psychology. I was offered research positions at 3 different universities. My undergraduate thesis on resilience in survivors of family favoritism won departmental honors, and in May, I graduated magna cum laude. Jessica, David, and Mrs. Richardson were all there in the audience. Jessica's parents flew out from Oregon. My research mentors came. Even Dr. Kim from MIT made the trip. But the seat I'd reserved for family remained empty, as it should. After the ceremony, Mrs. Richardson found me in the crowd. She pressed an envelope into my hands. "This came to my house. It's addressed to you, but the sender asked me to give it to you today, at your graduation." I opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a photograph. The photograph was of Grandma Rose, young and smiling, standing in front of Harvard Yard. On the back, in her handwriting, "My dream, 1965. Couldn't afford to attend, but I never stopped believing in education." The letter was from my mother. "Emma, your grandmother took that photo on the day she received her Harvard acceptance letter. She couldn't attend. Her family couldn't afford it, and there were no scholarships for girls like her back then. It broke her heart. She bought you those savings bonds so you'd never face that choice. So you'd never have to walk away from your dreams because of money. And then we took them from you. We made you face exactly what she'd tried to prevent, but you overcame it anyway. You got to Harvard on your own merit. You succeeded beyond anything we could have imagined. You made her dream come true just one generation late. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't ask for anything. I just wanted you to have that photograph, to know that your grandmother's dream lives in you, to know that she'd be so proud. Congratulations, Dr. Chen-to-be." Mom, I tucked the photograph and letter into my graduation robes close to my heart. That evening at dinner with my chosen family, Jessica, David, the Richardsons, my mentors, I raised a glass. "To second chances," I said. "To the family you're born with and the family you choose. To grandmothers who believe in you. And to flying as high as your dreams." "To Emma," Jessica added, "the strongest person I know." We clinked glasses and I looked around the table at the people who'd supported me, believed in me, loved me for who I was. This was my happy ending, not reconciliation with the family that had hurt me. That might never come, and I was okay with that. But success, happiness, purpose, and love from people who deserved my trust. I'd been reborn with the knowledge of my first life's pain. I'd used that knowledge to escape, to thrive, to build something better. And now, at 22 years old, with a Harvard degree and a PhD program ahead of me, I was finally, truly free. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I made one final TikTok video. 4 years ago, I posted my first video about my family giving away my college fund. 4 years ago, I was a hurt, angry teenager trying to find justice. Today, I graduated from Harvard. Tomorrow, I start my PhD program. This is my last update on the family saga. Not because the story's over, stories like this never really end, but because I've said what I needed to say, I've healed what I needed to heal. To everyone who followed this journey, thank you. Your support meant everything. To everyone still fighting their own battles with family, with self-worth, with finding where you belong, keep going. It gets better. You'll find your people. You'll build your life. You'll fly. And to my family, I wish you well. I hope you found peace. I hope the scholarship helps other students the way Grandma Rose wanted to help me. I hope we all keep growing. This is Emma Chen, Harvard class of 2029, signing off for the last time. Be kind to yourselves, be brave, and remember, your past doesn't define your future. You define your future. I posted the video and closed the app. Within an hour, it had 10 million views. Within a day, 50 million. Within a week, it became the most viewed video of my entire account. But I didn't check the comments. I didn't read the messages. I'd said what I needed to say. The rest was just noise. 5 years later, I was Dr. Emma Chen, a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in family trauma. I'd published extensively, spoken at international conferences, and opened a practice serving young adults from difficult families. David and I were engaged. Jessica was my maid of honor. We were planning a small wedding, just chosen family, just the people who mattered. And one day, a new client walked into my office. A young woman, 20 years old, nervous and uncertain. "I'm having trouble with my family," she said. "They favor my brother. They always have. I've tried everything, but nothing changes. I don't know what to do." I handed her a tissue as tears started flowing. "I understand," I said. "I really do. And I promise you, there is a way forward. It might not look like you expect, but there is a way. How do you know? She asked. I smiled. Because I lived it, and I'm here to help you find your way too. This was my purpose. This was my grandmother's legacy. This was what I'd been reborn to do. Not just to escape my own pain, but to help others escape theirs. And somewhere, I like to think Grandma Rose was smiling. For Emma's future. May she fly as high as her dreams. I'd flown, Grandma. Against all odds, despite everything, I'd flown. And I was teaching others to fly too. That was the real victory. Not the Harvard degree, not the viral fame, not even the scholarship in her name. The real victory was turning pain into purpose, betrayal into strength, and a second chance into a life worth living. I'd won. Not just against my family, but against the voice inside that said I wasn't good enough. I'd won because I'd chosen myself, and I'd keep choosing myself every day for the rest of my life. The end wasn't reconciliation or revenge, the end was peace. And that was worth more than anything.